love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hype yourself up when nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have Hello and welcome back to Ascension with V. I am your host, Stacia Jeanette, aka V, and today's little short episode is going to be about a question that I have been frequently asked about, and the topic is spiritual court. So in this episode, I'm going to explain how spiritual court works, why evidence is required in the courts of heaven, and how spiritual warfare involves gathering proof before physical justice can be brought into the physical world. Does that make sense? Anyways, so we're going to dive right in and essentially kind of talk about what is the spiritual court, who goes to spiritual court, why is spiritual court a thing? And essentially it's just like, I don't even want to say just like Earth court, because Earth's justice system, Earth's courts are very easily manipulated and very corrupt from all angles. Like, it doesn't matter how you try to chop it up or sum it up, there is always a way that a guilty party is able to be bought out of their crimes or their wrongdoings, or there's always a way that someone can pull strings and manipulate behind the scenes in order for someone to get off scot-free, right? Like, take a look at the world and the current stance of the things right now. There's a lot of people in high positions in political power that really honestly should be locked up for eternity, not just in the physical, but in the spiritual and other realms as well, right? But that's a neither here nor there case, and it is something that I'll touch on in here as well. But unlike the earth courts, the spiritual and intergalactic realms, dimensions courts are unable to be manipulated, unable to be corrupted, unable to be bought out, right? So it's always entirely based upon evidence, full proof and evidence. And in order to get that evidence, there are people who are sent in as the bait, as the almost like an industry plant, right? Strategically placed and brought into really shitty situations, for lack of better words here. I was sent into a lot of situations, not just within the healthcare industry, right, where I was done really wrong, where, I was treated not great. There was a lot of healthcare trauma that happened, but it was allowed to happen to me, and I went through it in order to gather the proof, right? And in order for there to be a paper trail, in order to catch the wrongdoers in the wrongdoing. And unfortunately, for the ones who are the infiltrators of corrupt systems, we are the ones who bear the brunt of the suffering. We're the ones on the front line. If you're biblical, then it would kind of very much be like Book of Job, right? It would be Job going through like the really terrible, terrible things. And all of these really terrible things happened to him and was allowed to happen to him, essentially to get the proof. But not only that, but to test the faith. Are you going to waver in your faith? Are you going to drop your belief in me while things are getting rough? And it's no different for those who are being the infiltrators of corrupt systems as well. Not only is it a test of your faith, not only is it a training ground for you, but you are also providing the necessary evidence and paper trail for the spiritual courts, right? So you're doing an immense amount of work while you're kind of getting the sock out, while you're going through the brunt of the things. And throughout my suffering, throughout the trials and tribulations that I went through, not just within the healthcare industry, but in my own just personal life, while people were doing me really dirty, while things were happening, it's the thing of where they think, oh, it's like a little damsel in distress. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, so cute and naive. You're made to look like the prime target. And in a sense you are. God's source universe makes you to be the ultimate target for people to take the bait. And when they take the bait, that's it, is game over. But however, it takes a while for the spiritual justice and processing to flow out into the physical world and realm and dimension, right? So it's not just you that's out there gathering the evidence. It's not just you who is infiltrating corrupt systems and exposing corrupt people, places, things, principalities, and or establishments, right? No, it's a lot of other people who are also, so everyone is sending in this collective kind of evidence, this collective data, this collective proof for different spiritual open cases, right? And once there is the proof and the evidence that is presented before, it's almost like you're live streaming, right? Like the spiritual courts are able to see through your eyes and witness in real time what's taking place. But for a long time, this wasn't able to happen because the miasma, the barrier, the thickness of corrupt energy and frequency, the frequency of Earth was too for the signal to penetrate out, for the live stream to connect to the server. I'm trying to paraphrase as best as possible here for it, but there was a point in time where regardless what was happening to us, we were unable to get the signal out to send the evidence and proof. And it was done intentionally, right? But the frequency of Earth has changed and shifted in a much more positive direction, regardless of what people may think and how it looks on the physical external of it, right? Really, a lot of people are starting to wake up. A lot of people are starting to activate. A lot of people are starting to heal. A lot of people are starting to see through the illusions. And as such, that ripple effect happens with a increase in the frequency and vibration collectively of Earth. When that happened, it allowed for the live stream's connection to be resumed so that the evidence was able to be transmitted back to headquarters, so to speak. So with this newfound evidence that's constantly coming in, with the live stream being able to be accessed through the witness and the infiltrators' eyes to see firsthand exactly what is happening, and not only that, but to be able to go back and kind of, it's like you did a live stream, but you didn't catch the live stream until 4 hours in or 5 hours in, but I forgot which platform it is. It might be YouTube, that you can then go back and rewind, or I think Twitch does it as well. Anyways, but you can rewind or start back from the beginning of where the live stream originally started, so you can essentially see the full stream, not just where you came in at. This is what the spiritual courts are now doing. They're reviewing the evidence. They're going back and looking at those who were the bait, those who were the corrupt systems infiltrators, the corrupt systems plants evidence, looking at their live streams and seeing exactly what the F has been going on, and using this newfound evidence to bring justice, to bring the wrongdoers, to bring the people responsible to justice. Right. And so once it starts happening in the spiritual, it then happens, it trickles and ripples out into the physical world. So that's when you're going to start seeing the corrupt companies, the corrupt politicians, the corrupt industries, the corrupt people, places, things, the principalities, the businesses, the establishments, the governments, the healthcare systems, whatever was corrupt and is corrupt here on the physical plane of Earth will start being brought to justice, will start crumbling, will start being exposed, will start being reprimanded, right? Because it's happened first in the spiritual realm. And so the question that I get frequently asked as a follow-up to this is, well, who is it that goes to spiritual court? And is it only for, these high up cases, or this is a thing of, the corrupt politicians or the corrupt systems of Earth? No. This happens with just everyday people, places, and things as well. It's anyone and everyone. It's everybody. If you have gone through some really wrongdoings in your life, regardless of what it was. If someone has done you dirty, like I'm talking about unimaginably dirty, we're talking about SA, we're talking about the PDFs, we're talking about these kinds of things. These things are not just overlooked. Unfortunately, again, a lot of us were the bait. A lot of us were the infiltrators. A lot of us were the traps that were set for these types of people, places, and things to be caught and brought to spiritual justice, and then it to ripple out into earth as earthly justice, earthly reprimands. And so that's anybody, anything. So I guess that's the roundabout answer to that question of who goes to spiritual court or who can go to spiritual court. It's anybody, but it's mainly for the ones who have been the bait. These are the most seen cases in my many incarnations of spiritual incarnation and physical incarnation that I have witnessed, been a part of a court on, and been a seat holder of judgment for is these types of cases where it's, you were just out here on demon time, just doing people, you chose violence for no reason. And a conjoining part of this is one of the projects that I oversee, and it is the redemption line. And the redemption line was something that I spearheaded and tried to get established, because there are a lot of people a lot of beings who have been wrongly locked up, because the current earthly conglomerate of beings locked them up because they would not follow them in their corrupt leadings, right? With no chance of parole. So I'm trying to like paraphrase this in earthly terms. And those people, those beings have been locked up in I'm trying to give like an earthly comparison of this, like the Montego Bay, or like, you remember on Suicide Squad where they had all of the Suicide Squad members locked up in this like underground little thing, where Harley Quinn and Will Smith were at. It's like this equivalent, where these beings have been kept held with no chance of release or parole, and they have been tormented. And so what I did was I went and I said, what is the purpose of them being in here? Now, don't get me wrong, the spiritual jail or the spiritual asylum that a lot of these people are held up in, there are quite a few who definitely belong in there. But there were a lot that did not, and they were labeled as some of the most like, don't go visit them, don't go talk to them, they'll rip your soul to particles at on site type of thing, without ever really investigating into the thing. So that was one thing that I did, was I really wanted to look into why these beings were locked up for so long. I'm talking like 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. What happened? So sitting down and talking to some of these beings, not just them, but like everyone that was in the spiritual asylum, I would ask, what did you do and why did you do it? And that is simple questions. And a lot of the answers would be like, because I felt like it. And hey, fine, cool. That was the truth. That was the answer. That was, that's real. Thanks for the honesty. Keep their ass in there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just it. They chose violence, and that was it. Shut and close case. Yes, you need to be in there. But then there was ones that I got to where I asked, what did you do? And they said they refused to kneel before corrupt leaders and beings. And so therefore my soul was condemned to this spiritual asylum forevermore. What? Like that's not okay. That's not okay. So because you refused to bend the knee to these beings in question on planet Earth, like that's not right. So I worked with a lot of the higher ups to try and establish a way to get some justice for this, like for this type of stuff. Why did you do what you did? And if the question was because you were up against an impossible, you had two choices and both choices were shit, These are things that need to go to spiritual court. They need to be brought in front of a courtroom of very impartially minded people. They're not on any side. They're just looking at everything. They have the ability to look at everything from a zoomed out perspective and say, does this person deserve to be locked up in the spiritual asylum or not? And sometimes the answer is like, yeah, you need to stay your ass in there. Like, yeah, you need to stay your ass in there. Like, I don't think you ain't ready to, you're not ready to dip your toe back into the realms outside of the asylum at all yet. But sometimes, that's not the case. Again, sometimes a lot of these beings have just been hoed. And there were two options and both options sucked. So these are also a lot of cases that I see frequently in the spiritual courts are, those who are trying to get in the redemption line. And a part of being in the redemption line is helping those who are on the front line behind the scenes, right? Like those who are out here right now currently in this spiritual warfare, helping them from behind the scenes from whatever realm you reside in, they reside in. And it's kind of like getting time off the sentence, or the sentence being released in lieu of you essentially being the bodyguard for those on the front lines behind the scenes. And that's what the people of the redemption line do. And I want to give the shout out to all those who have been helping us behind the scenes and in whatever realm and dimension that you're helping, and to anybody that's done anything for those of us on the spiritual on the spiritual front lines and on the physical front lines. It's very much appreciated. And yeah, so this I guess the closing question that I've had, I may have already answered it, is why we go through a lot of the things that we have gone through, why we go through like the shitty experiences, why. So for people who have experienced SA, that we went through the things so that those people could be brought to justice, and so we could have the proof of it. And to the people that have just been abused and manipulated and taken advantage of and frequently attacked, and again, it's because we were exposing. We were the ones who were going to catch them in the act, and that's it. It doesn't make it any easier to digest. It doesn't make it right of what happened. No, like not at all. It still sucks. It still is really painful. It's still, when I look back at my past and the things that I've gone through and overcome, I'm like, oh, even though I see it through the lens of what it is and why for, it does not erase the pain. It doesn't erase the suffering. It doesn't erase the scars. It doesn't. I can't get back what they took from me, and not physically, not emotionally, spiritually. Yeah, I can get it back, and I am currently, but like it doesn't make it right. And I want you all to know that this is just me giving the why the things happened and what for on it. And my knowledge is not absolute. I'm not here with all the answers, and I'm not right always, nor will I ever be. But I can speak from the personal experience and the things that I have gone through and I have witnessed in my many times of dancing with death. I'm very much intertwined with the spiritual world, and I have always been since birth. So I've seen some shit. I've seen some shit. I've been through some shit. I've been through a lot of resuscitations. I've been through a lot of bringbacks. I've been through a lot of time in the underworld, and I've been through a lot of suffering and a lot of abuse and a lot of manipulation and a lot of trauma, and those things, unfortunately, are what forge a lot of the newfound spiritual warriors and leaders that we have right now, who are getting ready to take center stage and who are receiving their recognition and their rewards and their praise and their support and their love and their abundance. But my God, it came at a price, and we're tired, we're tired, but it wasn't for naught. And please know that your justice is coming. It's just, it takes time. It takes time to go from spiritual into physical, but it is happening. And if you want the proof, look at the world currently. Look at the corruption that's being exposed currently. Look at the quote unquote newfound, look how bad the world is type stuff that's happening right now. It's not new. It is not new. It's stuff that has been hidden behind the scenes for decades, for centuries. that people were none the wiser of, that they were getting away with behind the scenes, but no more. You're seeing it now because it's being brought to justice in the spiritual courts now, right? And as above, so below. As the things happen in the spiritual realm, they ripple out into the physical realm. So that is your proof. Every day when you start questioning, when am I going to get my justice? When are the things, when am I going to, be compensated for the things that I've gone through? Nothing's happening. What's happening? Look at the world. Look at things coming to light in the physical world. Yes, it's slow, it's glacial, especially when you are one of the people that has witnessed the unthinkable, the the most heart-wrenching things on this planet, when you yourself firsthand went through it, when you yourself firsthand were one of the ones who had to deal with the abuse. It's really difficult to sit back quietly and watch this very glacial process unfold. But please know that it is happening and it will happen. It's just not a quick process. And with that being said, I hope that this made sense to you guys. I hope that you were able to get a little bit of glimmer of understanding. I hope that you were able to understand my metaphors and my wording and my innuendos for things. If you know, you know, right? Don't forget you can purchase the New Earth Guidebook to Healing and Ascension on Amazon. You can apply or just book a session with me. All the links are in the description box below. You can purchase the V-Squad Oracle deck also in the description below. And the donations link is in the description below, as well as the way to purchase a recorded reading with me. And until next time, I'll see you. V-Squad.